Hi there, I'm Kelly Dampus, and welcome to the June 2021 edition of the First Friday Video. I'm joined today by my friend Paige Pauley, who's the coach of our Spirit Squad. Welcome to the First Friday Video.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us, and I'd love to hear more about what it means to be a member of the Spirit Squad at A-State and what that all means.
Oh gosh, we're a little bit of everything. I always kind of explain our program as kind of three parts. So, the first part is we support all of our sporting events, between football, basketball, we have a howl out at baseball and volleyball. We do a lot of community events, so we're out in the community a lot. We love doing our community events. We're really involved with the Northeast Arkansas Food Bank. And then we compete nationally in Daytona Beach, Florida, and that usually happens in April. So we actually just got back, about a little over a month ago now. We're waiting for our recap video so we can show everyone a little bit of everything. But yeah, nationals. And so we're here to spread cheer and, to represent Arkansas State, not only here in our community, but, nationally at competition.
That includes our mascots as well, right?
Oh, yes. So they go with us to nationals. So we had one of our howls with us, and we're looking to hopefully maybe have him compete next year. So we'll see. So Scarlett will join us as well.
Well, that's great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've got some cheer background in your past as well. So how'd you get into coaching?
So I started cheering when I was very young. I cheered at the University of Missouri, so that's where I was for 4 years, and I worked for a cheerleading company that I've been with for 14 years, and so that actually helped me kind of find my avenue to coaching, collegiate cheerleading and dance. And so whenever I came to A-State, there's a lot of growth that at the time the administration was wanting to see the Spirit Squads kind of grow throughout the year and kind of their goals, and so we kind of banked ideas off of each other. But I knew I always wanted to coach, and when I graduated from Mizzou, I was working in Kansas City for a while, and I was like, I want to help people, and I want to help young adults and athletes, and what's the best avenue for that. And I really felt that being a cheer and dance coach, helping out with mascots, and even just helping out in higher ed would just be something that was kind of my calling. Came down here and started August 19th, 2013 was my first day. I've loved it ever since. I've been very blessed with awesome support and great athletes. I mean, really, there was a lot of change that happened over my first couple years. I know that can always be a challenge anytime there's change, and someone coming in that was kind of an outsider at that point. But everyone really supported me. We really got the athletes to buy in, cheer, dance, and mascots. And since then we've just continued to be more successful. And they're just a well-oiled machine. They just kind of run themselves at this point. They kind of know the expectations, and my assistant coaches and myself kind of just really oversee, but they're very self-manageable. They're an awesome group of college kids. They are great. You actually use a term that's pretty interesting. You said you call them athletes. Yes.
And I've been to lots of practices, and I love watching you coach them, and I love how much they respect you, but they really are athletic, and it's a lot of work that goes into this. I think that when people go to football or basketball, wherever you all are cheering or dancing, it seems kind of spontaneous and kind of effortless, and that I think it says something about your team that it looks effortless because they work so hard to get there.
Oh, yeah.
The stunting and so on. Talk about the rigors of the practice and getting ready.
It's so funny because people usually bring up, if anyone's seen that show on Netflix called Cheer, very similar to kind of what goes on at practice. There are a lot of things that I think people might not realize that cheer and dance, and even mascots, even preparing when they compete, and even getting mascots prepared for games, 24 to 48 hours, they have to be hydrating. So when you see them at football, that is not an easy task to be in those suits in that heat. And so they even have a preparation. They go through about 24 to 48 hours before a game, before a large event. Cheer and dance, when they're competing, practices are rigorous. I mean, we have, 2-a-days over spring break where they're in here all day. We try to keep it fun. We do fun things. We'll have an outdoor practice. We'll have a picnic. We'll do fun things. You just keep them remembering their why and why they're here. And, we are a family. But practices are intense. Preparation starts in the summer. So we just got off of tryouts in April. We literally had nationals and then tryouts for all of our teams. We'll meet up with them, both cheer and dance and the mascots again in June, for about 5 days of practice to prepare them for football. That's kind of our focus when we come in June. We'll have camp in July. During July, we'll have camp, and we'll actually bring in instructional staff from NCA and NDA that work under varsity. So that's kind of the national championship that we go to, and we will need to earn our bid at those camps to even be allowed to go to nationals. Once we earn our bid, we kind of start zoning in on kind of what our strengths and weaknesses are and our areas of opportunity. We kind of get going with football season. Basketball will start, volleyball will start, while we're preparing for nationals. And that's kind of, I always tell the athletes, that's kind of the icing on the cake. But they are a very determined one group. And, starting even with our group messages now, people are like, hey, these are the things we want to do. They're very motivated, but practices are intense, whether it's game day and we're in, the indoor facility and it's hot outside, or we're practicing pretty intense skills. And outside of, practicing 3 or 4 times a week, there's loud music, there's, intense conversations, there's emotions, and they get very, very emotional. And sometimes you look back and those are the moments you remember almost more than others. And so kind of coming together as a team, you really find out who you are during those 2 days nationals practices for sure between cheer and dance.
And technically you're a club sport, so
Yes.
you're like our club softball team and like our club rugby team as well,
Oh, yeah.
which means you're involved in recruiting students to come here as well. Talk about the recruiting process.
Yeah, so cheer and dance recruiting is a little bit different, along with mascots. Mascots is kind of its own entity when it comes to recruitment. Mascots are hard to find, actually, which is kind of interesting. But a lot of times we pull a lot of mascots that are involved in theater because it is kind of acting. You take on a persona of something that's not you. For cheer and dance specifically, I attend a lot of the state championships. I was the announcer at the cheerleading state championships here in Hot Springs. A lot of my athletes, cheer and dance, also work for a cheer and dance company as well. We have a huge camp coming on campus at the beginning of June. So we talked to a lot of athletes there, talked to a lot of coaches there. But cheer and dance are slowly starting to get into very similar recruiting aspects as other sports. There never really has been an outlet for, cheer and dance teams to post film of individuals. That's never really been a thing for cheer and dance. In a lot of other sports, you have a huddle and film gets sent out to coaches. Ours is a little bit different. And so we're finally kind of getting that as starting with us. And so, I'm able to get videos from other places. I have a lot of coaches that reach out or individuals that will reach out, along with reaching out to a lot of our well-known, programs, cheer and dance programs in the state and beyond as well. So we actually pulled a girl this year on the cheer squad that's coming all the way from Washington. So yeah, and we have a cheerleader also from Canada. A lot of our dancers are locally. We do have a couple. We just had a dancer graduate from Ohio, but there's a lot of dance talent also in the state. So, and even just in our community between all of our high schools. And so, going to those competitions, reaching out to coaches, letting them know kind of what we offer. We want them to know when you come to A-State, this is what you're going to get. These are our goals. Do we align with your goals? Education is the first conversation we typically have with them, and then we kind of make sure that our program's something that they would align with our values as well. So
that's great. So let's talk about nationals now for a little bit. And I'd love to hear about your preparation for doing that, because my question is, you have to set up a routine that you're going to do for both dance and for cheer.
Yes.
And I'd like to know, how do you come up with that? Do you look at the strengths of your student athletes, say, I've got people who are good at this, so I'm going to focus on these things, or how do you develop these? I know you have, sometimes you bring in a guest choreographer as well.
It's always great to bring people in from outside of the program. It gives a whole nother kind of perspective. And coaches always joke all the time, because you could say something over and over again, but when someone else comes in and says it a little bit different, all of a sudden it resonates. But basically during the nationals process, this goes for both cheer and dance. So typically, we kind of get going with football season, and we do have skills practices during that time. So we're kind of evaluating their skills, teaching new skills, switching maybe stunt groups around, trying different combinations with the dancers, and just kind of seeing where everyone is at. Then we sit down and actually have one-on-ones with them. This usually happens end of September, beginning of October. At that point, we're checking in of how the beginning of the school year is going, if they need anything from us outside of, dance or cheer or even mascotting. And then we start talking about nationals with them, of kind of what we need to see from them, their strengths, but also maybe their areas of opportunity that we need to work on, of what we need to see for them to have a value for the program and for the nationals. Once we announce the nationals team, this year we're going to announce it a little bit earlier. We'll announce about October, November. We'll start integrating more national specific practices at that point. Then we're looking at, okay, what are some skills we've been working on? What are some combinations the dance team has been working on that we can integrate and actually put in our routine? We'll let them know kind of what skills we're working on and kind of what we're looking to do, our goals. We break down, for dance, we'll go by individuals of what skills each individual has. For cheer, we'll break down, how many stunt groups we have, what skills we need to have to actually look at a score sheet and where we would fall in regards to our scoring. So you have a rubric really for cheer that kind of helps us create our routine. We bring in other people to do our routine. Again, it's great to have outside eyes and kind of come in that even know the industry. They're literally trained to create routines based on score sheets, and they probably have judged college nationals before. So it kind of helps have a little bit of that insight. So we usually bring a choreographer in for cheer, usually in January. Dance will bring a choreographer in December to learn one routine, and then January to learn the second routine. And then we're pretty much just running through things. We talk January is quality reps. So at that point, we're just working on our skills. February, we start start putting pieces together to start building their stamina and their endurance, March is when we start running full outs. And so the first full out for cheer and dance is the scariest word they will ever hear. That first time we say we're doing a true full out, everyone's like, everyone kind of stops and they lose their breath for a second. But then once they get the one under their belt, we just kind of start building stamina and endurance. We usually have a solid goal for each day of practice of where we want to get, and then the athletes just kind of fall in, and we kind of just get it done until our showcase.
Well, it's a fascinating process. I don't think it's something that very many people understand what happens behind the scenes, and so that's really great. So you guys had huge success at Nationals, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're really excited. This year, with it already just being a COVID year, it was already a challenge. I was actually more worried. Fall, we had some things I was like, I don't know how this is going to work with Nationals. We want to keep everyone healthy. What's that's going to mean? How are we going to do this? But we had pretty strict protocols for cheer dance and our mascots, and had a very good season in regards to keeping them healthy. In the preparation towards it, we kind of knew our goals, and we knew what we wanted to do regardless of a COVID year or not. We tried not to bring that up a lot at practice, because for us, we just want to go out and do our best. It was a different competition season because of that. But one thing that we keep highlighting on is cheer and dance both placed and had the highest scores that they've ever had. And so I think that's a huge, huge stepping stone to look back on scores from the previous year and know that you've made that much of an improvement in 1 year. Dance competed in 2 routines this year. Was the first time we've ever done that. We took a jazz routine and we took a pom routine. We compete Division 1A, so we're against large teams. Other D1A schools. In cheer and dance, we still call it D1A. For jazz, we got 5th place. We were coming into prelims actually in 3rd, right behind BYU and Texas Tech, which when that happened, we felt like we already won, because that is in the dance industry, BYU and Texas Tech are very established competitive programs. And so to know where we placed coming into prelims and where our score had been last year in jazz versus this year, the ladies were absolutely ecstatic. Like we finally felt like we kind of broke through the glass ceiling that we've been struggling with the last couple of years. We didn't have any expectations for pom. It was the first year. We really wanted to go and kind of get our feet wet, see what the judges would say, and we're already knowing what we need to do to adjust pom next year. So we're already looking forward to that. They're very excited for that. Cheer came in. We placed 2nd. We actually came out of prelims in 1st. Emotions there for me are very high when we're in Daytona, but ended up finishing 2nd. We still competed against, some of the best teams. They also still traveled to Nationals, and so they did have a virtual option this year. We kind of talked to our athletes about, what they wanted, what we can do, and they really still wanted to go to Daytona and kind of experience that. And it was great because, Nationals was taken away last year when everything kind of started. So we had 2 grades that had never been to Daytona or had seen a band shell or had seen the Ocean Center, and so it was kind of fun just to see their eyes light up of, wow, this is it. Like, we're actually here. We made it here after this year. And so it was just a very proud moment for me, and I know it was for them. Like in any sport, mistakes can happen, and it's just kind of part of it. You could have a perfect routine before you leave, and then one small thing can make, it happens to everyone. But we were really, really happy with just how we represented the program in Daytona. A lot of people were talking about both cheer and dance. We were getting a lot of text messages from people who are very established within the cheer and dance kind of community, especially at the collegiate level. And even at the national level, the Team USA coach and I actually chat, and so he had sent some very nice compliments about the squad. So, which is always a good feeling as a coach to know that they are kind of making a name for themselves at the national level. So
sure, that's great. Well, you guys represent us so well during the season where you're supporting other student athletes who are competing, and then you have your own competition as well, and you've done very well there. So thankful for your leadership here. Great decision to bring you to Arkansas State, and we're glad to have you here.
So happy to be here.
And thank you for your leadership. And it was great to hear more about how cheer and dance and mascots all work together to support the university, not just on our campus, not just competitions, but also in the community as well. You guys do a great job with that as well.
Yes,
so thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Very good. As Paige mentioned, it's summertime now, and while many students are taking a well-earned break, A-State Summer School enrollment is up, and that's fantastic. So is our participation in our new student orientation sessions for our incoming class of 2025. And campus tours are also increasing as rising seniors start visiting A-State in the coming weeks. Guiding us to improved recruitment and enrollment numbers is Dr. Tilla Sivakumaran. I recently reorganized and merged 2 of our divisions into a new enrollment management and global outreach division that Tilla will now lead. I'm also excited about the possibilities of this more efficient operation, and we will have Tilla on later this year to talk about our recruitment and outreach activities. I'm pleased to also announce 2 more individuals who will be joining A-State this summer. Dr. Scott Gordon arrives in August as our next Dean of the College of Nursing and Health Professions. Scott joins us from Kennesaw State in Georgia and has a lengthy background of research and administration. Along with his active duty in the Army, Scott was also part of the support team for 2 NASA shuttle missions. And yes, you'll get to meet him later this summer here on the First Friday video. Perdita L. Bush accepted our offer to become Director of Title IX and our Institutional Equity Programs. She joins us from Penn State Harrisburg. Starting with our PAC program years ago, I have asked our university community to take extremely seriously our responsibilities towards Title IX and institutional equity. Perdita will expand our educational programs in those areas this fall. While we've talked a lot about preparing for the incoming class of 2025 and for being on campus this fall, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the spring commencement. While we had a shower that delayed the start, it turned into one of the most beautiful outdoor commencements I've ever seen. It was so exciting to see all the families able to join us in Centennial Bank Stadium for the great celebration. As we wrap up this month's edition of the First Friday video, I'm joined by my friend Khaniya Callicutt, who's a member of our cheer squad. Welcome to the First Friday video.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm from Marion, Arkansas. I am an exercise science major, and this is going to be my senior year and my 4th year on the team.
4th year on the team, so you're going to be graduating in May 2022.
Yes.
What's your chances? What do you think about doing after that?
I'm thinking about heading to PT school.
Oh, excellent. We have an excellent PT program here.
Oh, I do know.
Yeah, okay, well, all right, well, we'll see how that all works out. So tell us about what it's like to be a member of the cheer squad.
It's fun. It takes a lot. You have to be all in from the start. You can't halfway it at all. It's practice on practice. It's meeting some of the best people in the world. It's really a family.
Yeah. So your practices, what does a normal week look like during football season? Kind of walk us through that.
So we practice from 7:30 to 9:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
In the morning?
At night.
At night, okay.
PM, yeah.
Okay, that sounds better. Yeah.
Yes, PM. And then some of us have other jobs. So we'll go to practice, we'll go to work before that, literally leave, come to practice, and then wake up the next day and do it again 3 days a week. And then we also have a workout, so like a 6:30 a.m. workout, and then we'll work out for tumbling on Thursdays at night.
Okay, that's good. And then on Saturday you have the game. How long are you working during the game day? Let's say the game's at 6 o'clock at night.
So if it's at 6 o'clock, we're probably going to be there around 1.
Okay.
And then we'll go make sure we do pregame, and then we'll be there all night. So yeah.
Till it's over.
Till it's over, and a little bit after that.
And a little bit after that as well.
Yes.
So this year was a lot different for all of our students and all of our student athletes. Can you walk us through the challenges that COVID-19 presented to you all?
Well, it was a little different, especially not being in a classroom as much, since I personally do very well in the classroom, and it was different doing everything online because I like to be in the presence of other people. It helps me stay focused. But it wasn't too hard. It was definitely a game changer for a lot of us, but I think it was pretty good.
And then during the games themselves, it was a lot different from where you guys were actually positioned, where normally you all were actually up in the stands this year.
It was a little different looking down onto the team instead of actually being out there with them, experiencing it. But of course, we were still there. We were still going from first quarter to fourth quarter. We still had our uniforms on. It was still a very enjoyable game. Of course, we had to wear a mask, so we were yelling at each other through masks, yelling at ASU. But of course, it was different, trying to be louder and really trying to show that we were still rooting for our team, even though they couldn't see us as well or they couldn't hear us as well.
Well, it's one of the hallmarks, I think, of what our students went through this year. Everyone had to adjust in certain ways. The student athletes on the field were adjusting how they did their practice and competing as well, but you all had to adjust as well. So, and you did a great job of it. I could tell whenever I walked by, you guys were still in the game. You weren't distracted or anything by having been so far separated. Now let's talk about nationals a little bit. So you went there, and I've heard this term, leaving it in the band shell. Can you explain what that means, and then maybe how you felt right before the competition started?
Okay, so leaving it on a band shell to us is really doing as much as you possibly can to reach your goal. So our goal is to be national champions. Our goal is to bring home a ring. So as far as leaving it on the band shell, do everything that you possibly can so you have no regrets after that. So we practice that routine day in and day out for hours on hours. And we know how it feels when we hit. So we just wanted to experience that on the band shell in front of people that we didn't even know. But do it as a family. So that's what we mean by leaving on the main show.
And then how did you, what was your experience like as you went through the competition, and then, getting your scores and finding out how you all did, and then the ride home, of course?
Okay, that first day, like my coach said a little earlier, we were in first place at first. And so when we heard that, we were like, oh no, this is crazy.
And you're actually outside the building when you find out, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'll remember exactly where I was. I was getting food, and she sent a message, and we literally just stopped and looked at each other. We're like, no, there's no way. But it was the best experience ever. And then ended up being in second. It was kind of like, okay, but like we had this saying that we were saying, it was like we're coming back for blood. So we had to, there was no way that we could not have showed them who Arkansas State really was. And so we really tried to do that as best as possible.
Well, you guys did a great job. You had a
so
great
much.
second place showing. That's fantastic. Now you're a senior coming back. You're going to be a leader now on the cheer team.
Yes.
And so talk about what that's going to be like now. It's kind of a new role because you start off as a freshman and now here are 4 years later. Talk about what's going to be like to be a leader on the cheer team.
It's really not going to be too much of a difference, just because I feel like in every different position, or from freshman, sophomore, junior to my senior year, we have all been pushed to be a leader in different aspects. Of course, probably not as vocal, but as an athlete, like making sure that you do your job, making sure that you're listening to what everybody else is saying, and just taking it and applying it to what we have to do to get the job done. So it's not going to be too much of a change. I'm not a rookie anymore. It's time for me to be like, okay, I know exactly what's going on, so this is what we're going to do, and we're going to push it to be the best that we can possibly be ever.
That's great. So now your next step, in addition to going to school and fall semester, is to get ready for nationals again.
Yes.
You think about, it seems like you just finished nationals, and now
Yeah,
you got
we
to start preparing again. What's that going to be like?
It's going to be fun. Since we already know where we have been, we can't go back from that. We have to keep moving forward. So we were in second place, so now there's first place. We can't go below second place. We have already established so many different leaps and bounds to get to where we are, and we can only get higher from there.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your perspective of what it's like to be a member of the cheer squad, and thank you and your teammates for representing us so well on campus, in the community, and also at nationals as well. Congratulations on a great finish there, and look forward to watching you lead on campus when you come back as a senior here next year.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's great to have you here. Well, that wraps up the First Friday video for June 2021. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you want to reach out to me to ask me any questions or to make any comments, feel free to email me at chancellor@astate.edu or follow me on social media at KDAP. All right, everyone, Wolves out.